She was an actress, she's not anymore. You know, she basically travels around the world smiling and making sort of, you know, happy faces and meeting people.
Just went off on these, what did she call them? Queen's husband was dying, and she went on Oprah and suggested one or both of them are raging racists. She couldn't have cared less. She doesn't care about anyone other than herself, and I include Harry in that. She cares about her image. That's why she's there.
Like, she gets this platform, she gets on the stage, and instead of saying, what a beautiful country you have, I'm so blessed to be here, I am courageous, I am brave, like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You, lady, you sound crazy.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry may no longer be working royals, but their recent trip to Nigeria looked very much like a royal tour of their own.
Meghan really is a great tour for representing a modern royal family, but not long after that tour did Meghan sort of do her doe-eyed crying to the camera and say, nobody knows how hard it is. And then off they went to Canada, then America, and have decided really that they miss it and clearly want to continue doing it. So have flown
for one reason, to get their faces back on camera and to improve their image. They want people to think well of them, so they decide, what, you know what they really need? Us. What they need is us.
For the basketball court, I just think that all they do is talk, and very little action.
Harry and Meghan, I don't know if this is a royal tour. They're not working royals, are they? But they're not politicians or pop stars. What exactly are they doing touring Nigeria in the first place, Kinsey?
Nigerians were thinking, well, this is a bit of a waste of public money. This is not like we're courting a state that can help us with resources. This is kind of like a faux royal couple that are there to kind of boost their image.
You look lovely.
Thank you, so do you.
Before we get into it.
They once called it their second home, but Nigeria just shut the door in their faces. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle thought they were about to stage another high-gloss, royal-style tour, complete with Netflix crews, choreographed speeches, and camera-ready handshakes. But this time, there were no soft landings. They weren't just brushed off. They were rejected and humiliated by one of Africa's most powerful nations, and the whole world saw it.
Disaster opportunists, which is exactly right. Disaster tourists.
No delays, no soft language. Nigeria didn't whisper a polite decline. They made it loud, clear, and official. And the fallout? It wasn't just embarrassing. It could be the final strike against the Sussex brand. So how did things go so wrong, so fast? Why did a country that once rolled out the red carpet now slam it shut? And how did Meghan's personal heritage claim turn into an international misstep? Buckle up. Because this isn't just a royal snub, it's a global message. The world is done playing along.
There are government employees that are still waiting for paychecks, back paychecks months ago.
Yeah.
You know, what are the odds that they're going to get paid quickly for this Harry and Meghan visit?
When Harry and Meghan landed in Nigeria back in 2024, it looked like a diplomatic love fest. Flashing cameras, polished smiles, and a welcome that seemed tailor-made for a documentary. Meghan even called it deeply personal. School visits, charity walkthroughs, and photo ops were all lined up like clockwork. But behind the feel-good images, something didn't sit right.
So many of the locals are enraged over the fact that their government is going to be paying for the security of Harry and Meghan.
From the moment Harry and Meghan touched down, it didn't feel like a cultural exchange. It felt like a commercial. Their entourage made that crystal clear. Netflix crews shadowed them, capturing every handshake, every smile, every angle. Everything looked polished, timed, and built for headlines, not for real connection. Critics weren't subtle either. Some called it a vanity tour, others called it what it really was, a soft power PR campaign dressed up in royal leftovers.
Found out that she is almost half Nigerian, and that, I think, has sort of guided them somewhat in wanting to go there and do their photo calls. I understand as well that Nigeria will be hosting an element of the Invictus Games, set up, of course, by the Duke of Sussex, and he's been over there as well, meeting a young Nigerian.
But the real spark? That came when Meghan stood in front of a cheering crowd and declared she was 43% Nigerian based on a commercial DNA test. To her, it felt like a personal discovery. But to many in Nigeria, it felt like a sales pitch. What she thought would be a heartwarming bridge moment hit the audience like a red flag. Instead of connection, it sounded like performance. And to some, it felt like her heritage had just become another costume change.
But wanting to exploit their royal titles, I think it stinks. And I think what King Charles should do, he should just strip them of the titles. Let them go off and be, celebrities, that's fine. But don't do it in the name of our royal family.
At first, the press was glowing. Headlines praised the visit, the fashion, the speeches. But then the mood shifted. The clapping stopped, and the questions started. Who approved this trip? What did it actually accomplish? And here's the real question. Who were they even representing? Because if Harry and Meghan thought that their next stop in Nigeria would be bigger, better, and more welcomed, they were about to get hit with a harsh reality.
They felt like she dressed inappropriately throughout the tour. She changed clothes multiple times a day. And you're right, the objective was to look like she was the Princess of Wales, having her multiple meetings throughout the day, different looks. And that's not their status anymore. A week ago, Meghan Markle was throwing jam at her neighbors.
Meghan was smiling on stage when she dropped the line, "I'm 43% Nigerian." The crowd clapped briefly. But what she hoped would be a viral moment of pride turned into one of the most backlashed headlines of her entire post-royal career.
Meghan Markle was slammed relentlessly in the media for claiming she undertook a DNA test that proved she was 43% Nigerian and then referring to it multiple times throughout the trip.
To Meghan's supporters, that 43% Nigerian line was meant to be a bold celebration of identity. But in Nigeria, especially among scholars and cultural leaders, it landed like a gimmick. A quick hit reveal pulled from a DNA test kit, dropped in front of a crowd, cameras rolling. The backlash came fast. And it wasn't about pride, it was about insult. Was this really a moment of honoring culture or just a shortcut to attention?
Right, and Thomas Markle said he was surprised to find out Meghan was 43% Nigerian because he's always felt she was 100% Californian.
Historians across Nigeria didn't hold back. Some called it ancestral cosplay, accusing Meghan of shrinking centuries of identity into a single percentage. Others questioned the timing. Why now? Why Nigeria? Why not back when she first left the palace? Why only after Netflix got involved? The whole thing felt too clean, too PR ready, too performative.
The mother was born in America, the father was born in America, but Meghan is now telling us that she's 43% Nigerian?
This is the most ridiculous.
Even her own father jumped in. Thomas Markle, never one to stay quiet, quipped that he always thought she was 100% Californian. And as petty as that sounded, it struck a nerve. Because this wasn't just about her DNA, it was about how she wore it. The outfits, the ceremonial dancing, the photos with tribal elders. For many, it didn't feel like respect. It felt like branding. And while the internet turned her moment into memes and viral eye rolls, Nigerian officials were already loading up their response. And it wasn't going to be subtle.
She kidding. She's as white as I am. And she's over there like leaning in. Now I'm the face of the black woman. Okay.
No back channels, no warning, no diplomatic phrasing. When Meghan and Harry tried to schedule a return trip to Nigeria, they got hit with the bluntest response possible. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent a formal, flat rejection. You're not welcome. Not a rumor, not a conflict of dates. This was deliberate. It came straight from the top. A country they once called their second home had just shut them out with zero hesitation. And it wasn't personal, it was principle. Officials didn't see the value in another Sussex spectacle.
This is the same woman who said, I never even considered my blackness until the British tabloids started to make a thing out of it. Now she's like, I am Nigeria. Fellow women, hear me roar.
There was no benefit, not economic, not political, not cultural. What they saw was two private citizens, no royal status, no official authority, trying to sell their influence like it still held weight. That first visit? It had already left a bad taste. The media frenzy, the chaos, the headaches, and behind the scenes, it was a nightmare. This time around, Nigeria wasn't going to clean up the mess again. They made sure of it.
Right, talking about people who are always on their game, especially when it comes to trying to drum up support and get content for their next Netflix project. The Duke and Duchess of Montecito, Harry and Meghan, have gone on a, well, let's say a quasi-royal tour of Nigeria. They certainly haven't been meeting President...
And this wasn't just about bad optics. Behind the scenes, officials were worried. The Sussexes weren't just stirring headlines, they were threatening to blur political lines. What if people thought this visit had UK approval? It didn't. Britain didn't endorse it. The Foreign Office wasn't involved. And to Nigerian ministries, that felt like a slap. Not only were they being used, they were being misrepresented. And if Meghan thought the backlash had peaked, she had no idea what was coming next.
This is a pattern for her. It's not about charity. It's about her image.
To casual observers, the trip may have looked like harmless goodwill. But to Nigerian leaders, it was something else entirely. A royal rebrand masquerading as diplomacy. No authority, no mandate, no official standing, just two ex-royals staging a global image makeover on foreign soil.
Meghan, you have a very privileged life.
Yeah.
We all get it. You're beautiful. You married a prince, but that's literally all you've done to when it comes to your accomplishments.
They didn't show up to connect. They came to rebrand. That first trip, it was packed with all the Netflix sparkle, choreographed impact moments, rotating wardrobes, and scenes that looked tailor-made for a future documentary. And behind every photo op lurked one brutal question. Who was this actually for? Nigerian leaders weren't fooled. They saw a couple clinging to an old title to reclaim lost relevance. And the kicker? The British government had nothing to do with it. The British High Commission wasn't involved at all. That wasn't just a technicality. It was a ticking diplomatic time bomb. And it got worse. Many of Nigeria's traditional royal houses, the real ones, were never contacted. Meghan smiled for photos with hand-picked elders, but the actual gatekeepers of Nigerian culture? Sidelined. Ignored. Not even acknowledged. What followed looked like a rogue royal tour, led by two people who weren't just outsiders, they were playing dress-up in a system they didn't understand. You had the Duke and Duchess of Montecito pretending to be royalty, while trashing their own. Tribal leaders were furious. Historians called it royal cherry-picking, cozying up to figures who'd pose for cameras, while steamrolling over the country's real cultural hierarchy. One historian didn't mince words. This wasn't diplomacy, it was performance. And behind closed doors, the backlash built fast. Several Nigerian cultural coalitions sent formal requests to the government. Stop any future Sussex visits, no more side doors, no more staged photo shoots. If Meghan and Harry wanted to come back, they'd have to do it the right way, through official channels like any other citizen. But as Nigeria locked them out, the aftershocks had already started circling the globe.
Wealthy, privileged young couple from California come over because Meghan's done a genealogy and they're making a Netflix documentary.
This is where the trip went from awkward to flat-out embarrassing. Despite having zero official roles, Harry and Meghan landed in Nigeria expecting the full royal treatment. Motorcades, presidential suites, ceremonial escorts, security coverage, all paid by a government still struggling to meet basic payroll. But Nigeria wasn't having it. According to insiders, their demands were massive, more like visiting heads of state than two ex-royals with no diplomatic standing. One senior official reportedly called the whole thing a logistical nightmare. And while Netflix kept filming, Nigerian officials behind the scenes were rolling their eyes.
They're not there on the behalf of the British government, they're there at the invitation of the Nigerian government. Some people think that this is a bit risky. You know, when you're not there on behalf of say, the British Home Office, you're kind of at the whims of your host. And there is concerns that maybe Harry and Meghan could be, they like to control.
Meghan reportedly changed outfits multiple times a day, copying the exact wardrobe rhythm of the Princess of Wales. Her calendar was jammed with speed-run meetings, dramatic speeches, and backdrops crafted for press. Every piece screamed royal tour, except they weren't royals. Not anymore. To many in Nigeria, this wasn't diplomacy. It was royal cosplay. And the purpose? Totally unclear. Was it a charity tour? A documentary in progress? A PR stunt to fix their brand? Nobody could tell. But one thing was obvious. They wanted the perks of monarchy without the price of protocol. And while the Sussexes smiled for social media and stitched together a polished narrative, major Nigerian cultural leaders were completely shut out. Some weren't even told they were coming. One royal insider put it bluntly, "They ignored our traditions and picked the people who'd make them look good." That's not connection, that's manipulation. And what started as theater quickly morphed into global backlash that couldn't be brushed off.
But it's wild how much she is so confident in herself. I mean, basically what she just said was, I am courageous, I am brave.
Yeah, it's all about me, 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 me.
Nigeria may have been the first to say it out loud, but they weren't the only ones thinking it. The second headlines dropped about Harry and Meghan's formal rejection, the global tone shifted. Fast. This wasn't just about side eyes or skepticism anymore. People were walking away from the brand. What once looked like a brave step into post-royal freedom now looked like a rebrand gone wrong. And Nigeria's blunt no? That wasn't a one-off. It was a message, loud and clear to the rest of the world. We're done pretending.
You're in America now, and we don't give a shit about you. You're not our fucking prince. You'll never be king. We hate your wife. Stay at home in your $29 million mansion, all right?
Almost overnight, media outlets across Europe, Africa, even the US started singing the same song. Analysts didn't hold back. Cultural leaders slammed the Sussex tour as pure celebrity colonialism, the kind where rich Western figures fly in, pose with locals, give teary speeches, then jet off with content, but leave nothing behind. African academics lit up the discourse. One sociologist put it best: entitlement without humility, applause without authenticity. This wasn't a bridge, it was a band-aid. Nigerians just happened to be the first ones to rip it off.
Don't want to be a royal and you don't want the duty and responsibility that goes with it, then please spare us all the performance art.
And back in the UK, British diplomats quietly exhaled. Insiders revealed that the Foreign Office had already flagged Harry and Meghan as a potential liability. No official ties, no diplomatic approval. And now, with global backlash rising, their warnings looked prophetic. But for the Sussexes, this wasn't just bad PR, it was an identity crisis. Their carefully crafted image as global changemakers was coming apart, and the one thing they couldn't afford to lose, public goodwill, was slipping away fast. But it wasn't just governments or critics pulling back. Even their fans were starting to walk.
It has been several months now since our beloved Queen has died. Our Canadians are finding it hard to go on. All Canadians, that is, except for our first guest, the Prince and his wife. We want privacy! We want privacy! Hey, thanks for having us on the show. It's so awesome to be here. It's great. So let me start with you, Sam. You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, Win.
While Meghan and Harry were busy spinning their Nigeria trip into yet another inspirational chapter, think documentary pitches, branded empowerment clips, maybe even a memoir tie-in, Netflix was quietly walking away. Behind the scenes, the Sussexes had pitched a full Africa-themed special, a glossy redemption arc drenched in culture and feel-good moments. But Netflix didn't bite. No trailer, no teaser, no buzz, and now we finally know why.
They kind of f***ed up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood. Yeah. But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much of it.
Inside Netflix's original content division, the verdict was brutal. The backlash was too loud to ignore. Legal teams flagged it instantly. Concerns over diplomatic misrepresentation, zero clearance from Nigerian officials, and a growing sense that the entire trip was built on a manufactured narrative. One exec didn't sugarcoat it. It just wasn't worth the risk. That was it. The whole thing, shelved. Quietly, permanently. Not just the documentary, but every spin-off idea linked to Meghan's 43% Nigerian claim. Working title? Diaspora Dreams. Reality? A PR nightmare. And Netflix wasn't alone. Other studios, brands, and producers started backing away fast. Nobody wanted their name on the next Meghan Markle scandal. The risk wasn't just money, it was reputation. In an industry where image is everything, the Sussex brand had become too hot to handle. Sure, they brought attention, but not the kind that sells. And if Netflix was bailing, Hollywood wasn't far behind.
Won't need these anymore. Can crowns go in the recycling bin?
Toss them on the Goodwill pile. Out with the old. In California, we're just a regular couple living close to Oprah and far from the paparazzi. Woo! But not too far.
There was a time when Meghan and Harry were Hollywood gold. The couple everyone wanted front row. The power duo invited to every gala, every panel, every red carpet. Royal mystery meets social justice glow. It was the perfect PR storm. But now, that red carpet is getting yanked back, fast. After the Nigeria fallout, the Beverly Hills Whisper Network didn't just get quiet, it went silent. Publicists started steering clear. Execs stopped returning calls. And then came the word that changes everything in showbiz: uninsurable. In Hollywood, that means you're too risky to touch. Too many scandals, too much noise, too unstable to build around. And in a town where reputation is the only currency, that word is a death sentence. Meghan's content? Lowest ratings ever. Harry? Barely a blip. Even former allies are stepping back. One major talent agent reportedly summed it up perfectly. They bring attention, sure, but it's the wrong kind of heat. It's toxic. The Sussexes promised purpose and inspiration, but what they've delivered, over and over, is pure drama. And the fallout is everywhere. Beyoncé's inner circle, once warm and collaborative, suddenly ice cold. No appearances, no collabs, no cosigns, and they're not alone. Celebs are backing away quietly, skipping invites, keeping their distance. Brands that once lined up for Meghan's endorsement are now pulling U-turns. Nobody wants their next product launch hijacked by a Markle media meltdown. Because the Sussex name doesn't just carry fame anymore, it carries a warning label. And if Hollywood's inner circle is closing its doors, the final blow might already be here.
Hey, it's the husband formerly known as Prince. Any luck getting a job?
Oh, they had me driving for Uber Eats, but there were too many damn rules. Don't touch the food, don't taste the food, drive on the road.
I'm sorry, Rowdy Weddy.
They were once hailed as monarchy disruptors, the bold voices of a modern royal era. But now, Harry and Meghan are standing under a very different spotlight, colder, harsher, and way less forgiving. What began as a powerful break from tradition has twisted into a cautionary tale. They left the palace, they dropped the titles, but they never let go of the image. And now, that image is collapsing, fast. Nigeria didn't just say no, they pulled the curtain back on a global shift. A shift that says, we've seen enough. Enough of the titles without duty, enough of the culture without respect, enough of the press tours dressed up as diplomacy. The world isn't clapping anymore, not governments, not the media, not Hollywood, and definitely not the public. What was once a bulletproof brand is now buckling under its own contradictions. And the fans who once stood by them? Even they're getting tired. The Sussexes didn't just lose a second trip, they may have lost the last remnants of their international goodwill. With Netflix pulling back, Hollywood turning cold, and world leaders locking them out, one question hangs heavy. What happens when the applause stops for good? If Nigeria's rejection shocked you, buckle up, because this unraveling, it's only just begun. What's your take? Was this Harry and Meghan's wake-up call, or just another messy chapter in their endless PR game? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button if you stuck through the drama, and don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes truths the mainstream avoids. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and never fall for the photo op.